No way! In the last video, I bought the cheapest Porsche Boxster in Australia for just $6,300. And after bringing it home and getting it to start for the first time, oh my god! It runs! I quickly realized that I'd scored an absolute bargain. That's because after we removed all the broken parts, we found 0 frame damage. This is the frame rail, and there is absolutely no kinks. And this was a huge relief, as this is always the most concerning part when buying a crashed car from the auctions. I then browsed the internet to look for parts to replace the broken ones, and from a combination of Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and a few local wreckers, I managed to find all the parts, install the parts, and then get the car driving. No way! That brings us to now. Alright, this thing is hectic, man. Now, to keep up with the DIY spirit and show you guys that anyone can tackle a project like this, we're taking it to the next level. I want to show you guys that with a bit of effort, you can repair cars at home, even if you're not a mechanic. And because of that, I've decided to do the bodywork myself. Wish me luck. So yep, I've failed in the past, as you guys know, with the Skyline, but today I'm going to attempt the bodywork myself. Now, the new panels do have a bit of damage on them. The bumper does have 2 dents, which looks like it was caused from a tow bar backing into it, and the fender has a bit of damage here. Okay, so we're going to start off with the bumper, and we're going to start off there because it's made of plastic, and it only really bolts on one way. Whereas the fender, you can sort of shimmy and move to exactly where you need it. And as you can see, the fender's on right now, but it's not currently aligned because it's made of metal and it's bigger. And the damage that's on here isn't as bad as the fender, and I want to sort of ease my way into this bodywork stuff, otherwise I'm going to get overwhelmed. So I'm going to start off with the bumper, and then we'll get back to the red fender over there. Let's go. Now, I never really bolted up the bumper properly. It was just held in by some clips, so all I really needed to do was just pull it off. When the trestle table comes out, you know stuff is getting serious. Nice! We're going a bit professional here, and I also picked up myself some guide coat, and I also got some plastic fill from Autobahn, Motor Spray Baby, their own brand. I actually watched this guy on YouTube, and he goes through all the different sandpapers that you should use. So I'm going to leave that Google Doc link down below. So yeah, I'm going to just basically sand everything down with the sander first, with 180 grit, then work my way up to get it somewhat smooth to lay the Bondo. The first thing I had to do was remove everything from the bumper because there's quite a few things that aren't supposed to be painted the color of the car. There's these grills, which on this bumper are silver, but on the original bumper, they were black. So of course, I removed both of them. And there were also these little black pods on each corner of the bumper, and everything was held together with some clips. So I used a flat blade screwdriver to pry them out, and of course I tried my best to not break anything. With this sort of stuff, you definitely have to take your time, especially considering this is almost a 25-year-old car. I then went ahead and started to sand the bumper, starting off with 180 grit to get rid of most of the rock chips, and although there's quite a bit of damage underneath the bumper, I didn't bother to go too crazy there, as you won't be seeing any of that anyway. This sanding process took a very long time. I moved from different sandpaper grits from 180 grit all the way to 400 grit. And of course, that's not going to get all the imperfections out of the bumper, so I had to use some filler. Okay, we've got most of the bumper cut down to 180 grit, and I'm now going to try to start working on these 2 little spots in the bumper where it looks like a tow ball has hit. I have no idea what I'm doing, guys. Like, I'll be honest. But we're going to just use this heat gun, and I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to see what happens when I move the plastic while it's hot. And that's why I've got some gloves on. I've also got that plastic filler. Hopefully we can just move this, then, you know, heat up some zip ties or whatever, fill this up, and then bog it and everything. So I'll keep you guys updated. I used the heat gun to heat up the bumper, and I was able to sort of pry the bumper back into place while it was hot, and it sort of settled exactly where I needed it to be. Of course, there was a few bits of damage, so I definitely needed to fill that in after, but I was pretty happy with the results. We're now going to start filling up the bumper with some filler and some hardener. And like I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to give this a shot. You need to mix the filler, 50 parts filler and 1 part hardener. So that's exactly what I did on this janky piece of cardboard. I tried my best to remove all the air bubbles, and then I applied it to the bumper. After letting it dry for 30 minutes, I then used the sander to smooth it all down. This took a little bit of time, of course, because you want to overuse the filler to make sure that you get all the little imperfections, but having the sander definitely made quick work of this. It would have been much harder doing this by hand. And after about 2 days of sanding, this is the result that we got. And it doesn't look like much now, but obviously once we lay some paint on, hopefully everything's all nice and smooth. But as you can tell for right now, it's looking pretty bad. And yeah, I'm pretty intimidated right now. I've got myself some primer that I'm just gonna lay on, and yeah, hopefully it lays on nicely. Let's see how we go. I've learnt a lot from painting stuff in the garage, and I reckon the most important thing to do is lay on your first coat very lightly. This will sort of create like a sticky area for the next layer of paint to bond on. So I'm making sure to go very light for the first coat, and then we'll follow with 2 wet coats, making sure to cover absolutely everything. Again, I really don't know what I'm doing, but this is what I did. I then went ahead and sanded everything down with 600 grit and then 800 grit after letting the paint cure. And I used some guide coat to make sure that I got in every little spot and didn't miss anything. And I reckon after that, the bumper was pretty smooth to the touch. And this is probably the most amount of time I've spent painting something, for sure. Next day, guys, and we are finally in the garage with the bumper, and we're gonna finally lay our base coat with some color matched spray paint. Now I made a post in the Porsche 986 group that I'm going to be, painting my entire car with spray cans, and so many of the Porsche owners were not happy with that. So hopefully we can get somewhat of a decent result. In the past, I have got some pretty good results. So this is the stuff that I use. This is a pre-mixed paint. You can see it's pretty green in there. And we're just going to lay over everything 1 coat. I've cleaned everything down with some isopropyl alcohol, and let's see how we go. Before we continue, guys, I just want to announce that we have some new t-shirts available at benkispec.com. Go check it out. I'm still currently editing today's video, but I've basically completely rearranged my room in order to fulfill orders a lot quicker. And yeah, we've got a bunch of racks. Usually I don't show you guys this stuff, but this is my merch brand, and yeah, this is literally what helps support the channel. Go check out the website. The new designs are absolutely awesome. I really love them. And if you want to help support the channel, of course, yeah, that's the best way to do so. Anyway, let's get back to painting the bumper. Anyway, it was now time to lay down the base coat. And again, we're going to follow the same principles. We're going to spray a light mist of paint for the first layer, and then we're going to go heavier and then heavier. And painting stuff like this is therapeutic, but it is very intimidating knowing how much all this spray paint costs. It is definitely cheaper and more economical to buy a spray gun and do it properly, but I thought I'd give this a go with paint cans just to prove that you could do all this at home. And honestly, the results weren't actually too bad for the base coat. There was a few patches, as you can see. It wasn't 100% perfect because the paint nozzle wasn't really working properly, but after laying the clear coat, it really did pop, and I reckon the results aren't too bad. All I need to do is just sand everything down again and just polish everything. So I'm pretty happy with the results. The paint is now dry to the touch. It has been about 24 hours or something like that, and it's not perfect, but you can see the reflection is okay. It's a little bit orange peely, but we're gonna be fixing that, of course. You can still see the reflection of the Porsche, which is mad. God, this thing's looking pretty gnarly. But yeah, what we're gonna do is we are gonna start sanding this down with 1000 grit because the runs are pretty bad. And then I'm gonna go to 2000 grit and then maybe 2.5, I don't know yet, and then polish. So let's see how that goes. I wanted to do this all by hand because the last time I used a machine to wet sand and polish, I got some pretty bad results. And this took a very long time. And I mean a very long time. But I think it was worth it. Lachlan's doubting my ability, but I think that we're pretty good. We've just taken a bit of a break sanding. And the color match isn't looking too bad. If we spray this down, obviously we need to, polish it all up. But the color match is pretty decent. Anyway, it was back to sanding, this time with 2000 grit, and yep, all by hand. You really do just get left to your thoughts when doing this. We've now finished off to 1000 grit sanding, and this is what it looks like, guys. It's looking pretty bad. as you can see. But it's smooth to the touch, and when I put water over it, it gets shiny again, which tells me when we polish this, it should be shiny. Fingers crossed. And finally, the last touch up, I just went over everything, made sure to get all the spots that I missed, and later in the video, I'm gonna give this to a professional detailer and he's gonna finish it all up. Bumper is now on the car and just drying up, and it's a little bit off, but at least I gave it my best shot. You can't really tell at the moment because, you know, nothing is final. But yeah, we're gonna start focusing on the fender now that I sort of know what I'm doing in terms of like bodywork and painting technique. I'm gonna start trying to get rid of this little dent in the fender right here. So picked up some new tools from Autobahn, of course, and this is, what's it called again? Hammer and dolly kit. So I'm gonna manually try to tap this dent out with a hammer and dolly kit. Again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just gonna give it a shot. But yeah, you can grab one of these at Autobahn, baby. Included in the hammer and dolly kit is what it sounds like. Some hammers and some dollies. You basically want to put the dolly underneath the panel and then slightly hammer the top of the panel, and this will get rid of all the high spots. So then after that, you can use your body filler. Now I wasn't getting the results that I wanted to get, so I decided to wait till the next day and take the fender off. The fender is now off. It is over here on this chair, and we're just gonna start sanding this just like we did the bumper. I'm not gonna go crazy in detail because we just did the bumper. I'm just gonna start sanding and hopefully, yeah, get the same results as we did with the bumper, which is just chilling up there. So you guys know the drill now. Basically disassemble everything. There's a few plastic bits that hold on the headlight, the bumper, and the fuel door as well. I did a little bit of hammering as well, so we could really knock out the high spots to make room for our body filler. And then more sanding, and of course, more sanding. I added some body filler to the imperfections, and then I sanded again. I then washed everything down and everything was looking super smooth. I was very stoked with the results. And then I coated everything in primer. This process only took a couple of hours because I learnt a lot working on the front bumper. The fender is now painted and it's looking pretty decent, but again, nothing is gonna look perfect until we wet sand. So, have a sauce. Not too bad, not too orange peely. Pretty excited because this car is now going to be one color for the very first time. Hello, Peter.
Hello, my friends. Long time no see.
We've missed you.
I miss everyone too.
I've got Peter over here because we're now going to put the fender or guard onto the Porsche, whatever you want to call it. And in order to do so, I need someone sort of like holding the bonnet in place because it goes under the bonnet bracket right here. So he's gonna sort of lift that up and I'm gonna put it into place. We're gonna try to get the body lines perfect this time, but easier said than done. Now I wouldn't say right here the fender was completely dry. It was still a touch tacky. I literally finished painting it the day before, but because we had a lot planned for the next day, I needed to get this fender on and it was a little bit tricky. I definitely needed Peter here to help me. And then we started to assemble the rest of the car. So I put the bumper back on, both side markers. These were actually really easy to install. Then I installed the headlight bracket, which was a pain in the ass. And then I went ahead and sanded everything down with 1000 grit, followed by 2000 grit. And as you can imagine, the fender started to look pretty bad, but that's all gonna change in a second. The car is now sanded down. As you can see, there's like a matte finish on it. 2000 grit all the way on both the bumper and the fender. And we are now actually gonna go on our longest drive in the Porsche, all the way to a friend's place. I got some temporary registration on the Porsche and we're gonna drive this thing, which is super exciting. First thing that I am gonna do though is put the roof on because it is freezing. Oh, there we go. Nice. Big Porsche guy. It was so much fun driving the Porsche for the first time on the road. The car actually drives really good, and now it was time to fix those sanding marks. Hopefully, it turns out good. All right, guys, we have arrived, and hello, Meticulous.
Hello, how we going?
What's going on, man?
Not much.
How you been?
Good, thank you.
This is my friend Matt, aka Meticulous Auto Detailing. Matt and I have been friends for literally years, and I've been watching him grow his detailing business into what it is today. I'm a strong believer in helping out your mates, and honestly, there's not too many detailers that I would trust, but just like the name of his business, and of course his name, Matt is a very meticulous guy, and he will go over your car and make sure that it is basically perfect. Now, you guys might remember Matt from years ago at this point. It's literally been years, bro.
Yeah.
But you detailed the AU Falcon back when I got that. Yeah, 2012. 21 or something like that,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Matt has literally got full mobile service van.
So I'm gonna wash the whole car.
Yep.
Like a paint correction prep wash.
Yep.
And then we're basically gonna dry it and then move it into the detail bay and then start cutting and polishing it to get it nice and shiny.
What do you reckon of the sanding job? Do you reckon up to par or?
We'll find out when we take the polisher to it.
Now, originally the plan was for him to just polish the front bumper and that fender that I painted. But of course, like I said, it's in the name, meticulous. He wanted to do the entire car, and of course, I wasn't gonna say no. So he started off by cleaning the wheels and spraying the rest of the car down. He then took it into the booth. You like that? Protection, man. Did some detailing, some cutting, all that good stuff to make the Porsche nice and shiny. And after about 6 hours, I came back to this. Alright guys, we are back and Matt has spent literally the entire day polishing, compounding, I don't know all the technical terms, but he's been doing everything to get this car looking like this.
So we started out with a wash and then we brought it in, dried it, from then straight into the compounding with a heavy pad and heavy compound. From there, polished it, prep wiped it, and then laid down some sealant to make sure it's protected.
Yeah, what's the best way to contact you reckon?
Best way is either by phone or a call, but I'm also available on Facebook and Instagram.
That's it, I'll leave it all up on the screen here if you want Mr. Meticulous to go this meticulous on your car at home. It's a crazy job, really appreciate it, man.
No worries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is pretty crazy that the car has gone from this to now this. It's a pretty crazy transformation and I'm super stoked with the final product. It's looking awesome, but I'd say that we're about 95% complete. This little indicator trim I'm still missing and I'm waiting from America. I'm also of course waiting for both airbags, one for the driver's side and of course one for the passenger side. There's not much left to go, and if you want to see me complete the car, follow for the next video. Thanks for watching and catch you later.